There's talks of foreign intelligence agencies, who's supplying what in what wars, who's funding certain things. There's talks of nuclear weaponry. I mean, that's hardly touching the iceberg. There's just stuff that if your tax dollars are funding these atrocities, then you should be able to know about it.
That is a source telling the Washington Post about the person behind the massive Pentagon intelligence leak and the documents disclosed. He says the leaker, who goes by the initials OG, worked on a military base and shared the classified information with a group of friends online, including him. The hundreds of secret documents were posted in an online chat room on Discord, a platform popular with gamers. Joining me now is New York Congressman Mike Lawler. He's a member of the Financial Services and Foreign Affairs Committees. Congressman, thanks very much for being here this morning and taking this on. From a foreign affairs perspective, what's the impact of this leak?
Well, honestly, this is outrageous. It is certainly espionage. And the individual who is found to be leaking these documents needs to be charged criminally and put behind bars. This has created an international crisis with our allies and obviously put in jeopardy sources and individuals who have been cooperating with U.S. intelligence services, particularly in the Russian invasion into Ukraine. And given the fact that that war is still ongoing, this really puts folks in jeopardy, and frankly, it's outrageous.
Lee Carter.
Congressman, do you get the sense that this is something that we should be concerned about on the ongoing, or this was just a one-off? We talked to someone earlier who was saying that it seems like perhaps he was just showing off to friends. And yes, we have to take it very seriously, but this might not be a broader threat. Should we be afraid that more is to come?
Well, given the fact that these documents were able to seemingly, kind of walk out the door, obviously I think we need to be very concerned about what other information is out there. I've been in classified briefings. You're not allowed to take the documents out of the room. So the fact that these documents were able to leave, that they were able to be posted on some gaming website and communication forum is deeply disturbing.
Yeah.
And obviously the FBI and the Department of Justice and the Department of Defense need to get to the bottom of it very quickly to make sure that there are no more potential leaks.
All right, well, we'll keep a spotlight on that. I want to get your take on China. China issuing a warning after the U.S. military staged the largest ever drills with the Philippines. The CCP in a statement says the drills, quote, should not target any third party and should be conducive to regional peace and stability. Congressman, you were part of the congressional delegation to Taiwan. Assess the China threat and these drills.
Well, that statement is comical in light of the fact that they performed drills surrounding the island of Taiwan while I and my colleagues were there. China is our greatest geopolitical foe. And when you look at their conduct and the naked aggression that they have engaged in, including flying a Chinese spy balloon over the continental United States unimpeded, collecting sensitive data over our military bases, they are a threat. And the United States and the Biden administration needs to take that threat seriously. We need to be working with our allies, specifically Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, Australia, Thailand, and Taiwan. 60% of international trade comes through the Strait of Taiwan. Over 90% of semiconductors are manufactured in Taiwan, and Taiwan is our 8th largest trading partner. China needs to understand that any provocations, any potential invasion of Taiwan or blockade in the Strait of Taiwan is not only unacceptable, but will be met with economic sanctions and force.
Yeah.
And one of the lessons that must be learned from the Russian invasion of Ukraine is that we need to deter China early, which means we need to arm Taiwan. We need to get the weapons that they have purchased manufactured and to them as quickly as possible. And the Biden administration has been asleep at the switch on this.
Well, I mean,
and they need to get serious about it quick.
Why would China understand that? I mean, there's been absolutely no pushback whatsoever. You just mentioned the surveillance balloon. We did nothing about it. OK, they were sending data from our military installations back in real time. We did nothing about the fact that the CCP would not allow any investigation into the Wuhan lab. More than millions and millions of people across the world died from COVID-19, and we can't even find out the origins because the CCP said no. You've got Wisconsin Congressman, your colleague, Mike Gallagher, on the show with me yesterday discussing that China is preparing for war against Taiwan. And he said the possibility is real that they will invade next year. Watch this.
They're trying to intimidate the people of Taiwan. Their real goal is to influence the upcoming Taiwanese election in January of 2024. So this is really a form of cognitive warfare. They've done a few exercises around Taiwan. They've threatened to start boarding shipping vessels bound for Taiwan. That would really amount to a virtual blockade. That would be a massive escalation. And so we should communicate in no uncertain terms that we want to abide by that.
And he said because there's an election in Taiwan in 24 and an election in America in 24, he's worried that that's going to be the year that China moves into Taiwan. If they do, what are we doing about it?
Well, he's 100% correct. The greatest threat right now is their interference in the upcoming presidential election in the beginning of 24. We met with President Tsai last week and had these very discussions. Certainly there is that concern. And if they are not successful in impacting that election and getting their preferred party and candidate through, we are deeply concerned that they then will invade or cause an incident in the Strait of Taiwan. And so the United States needs to bring our allies together in a NATO-like alliance in the Indo-Pacific. And we need to recognize the unholy alliance that has formed between Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran. They are creating serious threats across the globe. They are working together in so many different ways, including the sale of weapons and cooperation economically.
Yeah.
We need to take that seriously. And the Biden administration continues to be weak. The fact that you had Emmanuel Macron go visit President Xi and talk about the need to work with China and not follow the lead of the United States. You know, I said yesterday he'd be eating schnitzel instead of croissants if it wasn't for the United States.
Yeah.
He is an absolute joke of a leader, and he needs to learn very quickly that China is not a friend, not an ally, and he needs to be working with the United States.
Well, Lula is there right now from Brazil, right? He's meeting with Xi Jinping right now. They're talking about ditching the dollar and using the real and the yuan. Same with the Saudis. They want to use the yuan for transactions on oil. Are you worried about the dollar losing its reserve status?
Absolutely. This has been China's goal from the start, to undermine the United States economically. They have sought to devalue our currency. They have stolen intellectual property rights from our companies. We are at a war, basically. I mean, let's get serious. We are dealing with an economic powerhouse in China, and they are basically eating our lunch.
Well, that's not what Joe
and the Biden
Biden
administration
says.
is doing nothing about it.
Joe Biden says that they're a competitor. Why? Why is he so soft on communist China? He calls them a competitor. He will not call them an adversary.
Well, he's wrong. They are an adversary, and we need to take it seriously.
Congressman, thank you. We'll be watching. Mike Lawler joining us this morning.